Alright everyone, so today I'm going to be discussing observing myself as a critical reader in our experiencing literature class. So at first I was kind of skeptical about the online reading class. Usually you think of English classes as like sit in the classroom, we have our readings, we'll have our discussions about it, and just talk about it. But I thought it was going to be kind of strange doing it online because usually we're not used to that. It's just kind of different. Usually you want to be in the classroom, you want to be like with your classmates and discussing it, but having it over online was kind of interesting for me, and I really thought it wasn't going to be well. But I'm glad to know I was wrong. I'm glad to know it was a lot better than I thought it was. So yeah. So the reader response theory. So the reader response theory is kind of reading, but not just looking at the text. You're kind of asking more questions, and you're asking more questions, and you're not just reading it, but you're kind of thinking about outside factors as well. So the story I want to look at was A&P by John Updike. This is a story about a manager who berates the three girls coming into the store because they're wearing swimsuits. So the cashier, Sammy, um, you know, tells his manager, that's not really nice. Manager yells at him. Sammy ends up being fired, but it just shows his maturity because he stood up for what he believed in. He didn't want to see those girls getting yelled at for no reason at all. So he stood up for them. He fought back a little bit. It ended up costing him his job, but I'm sure it was worth it to him because he stood up for what he believed in. He didn't want the boss to get away with something um, that's silly. So that's what he did. Reading strategies. Definitely a lot of benefits to it. Rereading is definitely a good one because you tend to get so much more information. You missed the first time, you might have missed the first time. It's kind of similar to like watching movies. And when you watch it the second time, you notice more things that you didn't notice before. So that was cool. But the story I wanted to check out was First Encounter by Leroy Quintana, who was a Vietnam veteran. And he tells a story about the experiences in Vietnam. And this is a subject that a lot of people cannot fathom, the idea of going to war. But he really puts it in a way that makes you feel like you're right there. Especially this last line here. Um, you know now that your life is no longer yours. You're in that war. It's not like you, it's you, people you're fighting with, and the fact that you're fighting for your country. Um, so that's big time. That's a scary thought. And for a lot of these people, like they didn't want to be there, but they were there. They were fighting, and it's just tough. But you know, I really enjoyed the imagery put in by this, um, putting you right in the setting of it. Um, I really liked all the comparisons that they made. Um, you know, they're the fact that they all seem lost here because they're in a completely different country on the other side of the world, fighting in this war. So that it's crazy, but I think uh, Quintana did a great job in the story. I really enjoyed the digital tools that we used. Flipgrid was one of them. Being on the online class, usually you kind of just upload your discussion boards, and then someone comments on it like, "Oh, I agree," "Oh, I disagree," and all that stuff. But the Flipgrids are great because you get to like see your classmates and you get to see their responses to it, and I just think that's great because in online class you don't really get that. So uh, really liked it. Thought it was great for the class. Better than just plain old discussion boards. Um, it's better than just discussion boards because they're just kind of plain and boring and basic. But this one really helps a lot. Sorry, excuse me. I also really like the Twitter slide shares um, because we kind of kept up with each other with the Twitter accounts that we were following. And it kind of just, it helps because it like increases our knowledge about a lot of different things that maybe we aren't that used to. It also just gives us a better sense of community, which is great for an online class like this. So the connections between English 201 and the real world. I thought the cathedral was great. This is a story about a blind man who his wife just recently passed away, so he was going to visit his friend at home, and the friend's husband, who was the narrator in the story, was kind of uneasy about this because he didn't know how, he didn't really know much about blind people. In a sense, he kind of just always thought they were like kind of depressing and gloomy because they couldn't see. But upon talking to him a little longer, and he drew the picture for him while the blind man held his hand and was drawing the cathedral. It really just shows you that you got to make the best of your life with what you have and enjoy life to its fullest. Don't be living on your cell phones the whole time. I just don't understand how people can be on their phones 24/7. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. Well, you go somewhere and they're just always on their phone, or you're at a concert or a sporting event, they're just taking videos of the entire thing. It's like, put down your phone, enjoy it with your own eyes, because that's not a gift that many people have. This wasn't similar to we tied this in with our screen time test that we had to do, seeing how long we spent on a screen. So it's just like, you're wasting your life, or not wasting, you're wasting your time in the world just by staying on that screen, like where you can be going out and experiencing things with your own eyes. Just don't live through your phone all the time. Just look through it. Challenges facing this course, definitely time management. You have it up for a week, of course, the module, but sometimes, it can slip your mind or whatever. You end up doing it last minute because you forget about it, kind of thing, or you think like, oh, I'll be online later, so I'll just see it then. But it's also great because, you can get it done right away. And you can get it done right away and not have anything to worry about for the rest of the week. But I think, that was a challenge that I still had to overcome. But I got better at it as the time passed by. Most memorable literary moment. Really enjoyed the reading of our choosing, The Most Handsomest Man That Drowned. A story about a man who, his body was discovered by a village, and they noticed his sheer size, and they wondered maybe he suffered in life so much because things weren't built for him and weren't built for his size. That maybe that is why maybe he suffered a lot, and maybe that's why he could have taken his own life, because he was in a war. He was living in a world that wasn't made for him, and maybe he felt bad about that, and they ended up feeling bad for him, even though who knows if that's the real story or not. But they ended up feeling so bad for him that they wanted to give him a proper burial and a proper, funeral because they felt bad for him. They felt bad for the life that he could have lived. My aha moments were definitely the strategies. Never really took the time to reread stories. You kind of just read them, talk about them, and then you kind of forget about them. But to rereading them, you pick up so much more information. It's really such a great strategy that I wish I had used throughout my life, but I didn't. But I'm glad I started using it now. And I'm glad I took this class because it was a lot better than I thought it would be. And it's just a great class, and I'm going to miss it a lot. So thank you for everything.